This is the Almost Timely newsletter for the week of July 17th, 2022. What's on my mind this week? Every so often, folks ask what sort of gear and processes I use to create this newsletter and the other content I produce every week, both for my blog and for the Trust Insights stuff. So let's take a quick tour behind the scenes. Where and when things are clickable in the actual newsletter, because that's where we're going to have links to almost all the stuff. They are affiliate links, probably to Amazon, but just know that they're links that intend to make me money on stuff. So disclosures out of the way. On the hardware side, I'm running now these days on a Macbook Pro, the 16-inch version from 2021. This one has the M1 Max chip, which is has like 10 cores and like 32 GPU cores. That does it all. And it's a good thing because I use it to do pretty much everything from intensive video editing to machine learning models. For the soundboard I have, which you can't really see it here, I am now using the Rodecaster Pro, the first edition. The second edition just came out, and it's terrible. The first edition is good soundboard, good soundboard, good mixer, preamps built in. And a good soundboard makes life easier, specifically if you're going to be doing stuff like live streaming. If you want to sound consistently good, and the important part there is the consistent part, a good soundboard is a necessity, right? Because you want to sound pretty much the same, whether you're live, on a video like this, etc. The second edition of the Rodecaster isn't as good. It's bizarrely missing a 3.5 millimeter jack, a TRRS jack, which I don't know why they did that. You need it if you want to hardwire a phone into like your board. If you want to like take calls during a live stream, you have to Bluetooth it in now for the second edition. It's dumb. So glad I don't have that. The microphone now is, I upgraded this week, thanks Prime Day, to the Shure SM7B. And yes, it's that mic. You've seen it on shows like Holly Randall, Joe Rogan, Howard Stern, you name it. And there's a reason why. It's got a very, very distinct, very clean sound. Sound quality is great. The off-axis rejection for like external noise is very good. And it works well with my voice. It's also a dynamic mic, which means that I can yell into it if I have to. I'm not going to blow out the mic. So that's the newest addition to the kit here. The webcam these days is a Logitech Brio. It's the only 4K webcam that works reliably on a Mac that I know of. And then some other silly stuff. We have the Razer Basilisk X hyperspeed gaming mouse. I like it. It's Bluetooth, fits nicely in my hand. You can macro all sorts of stuff to it, which, as a side note, gaming gear is actually some of the best gear for work because it's meant to take a beating, and B, there's a lot of functionality that we need in the office that gaming gear does that regular office gear just doesn't do. Other things for productions, we have the Bose Qc Earbuds, especially for live streaming. These are great when you want to hear what your co-hosts are saying, but not be wearing big cans on your head. I use this for the podcast as well. I have a Cherry Blue MX keyboard from Das Keyboard. It makes the super clicky sounds. I like a super loud, super clicky keyboard. Nobody else within 50 feet of me likes it, but since I work in my basement now, it's kind of a non-issue. Other gear, iPhone and iPad. Again, no better portable multimedia studio. As silly as the Magic Pencil is for the iPad when I first saw it, it's pretty amazing. And then some services, hardware services, Linode, which is the hosting company that provides the hardware that I run my marketing automation software on. Special disclosure, they're also a client of Trust Insights. But their servers are great. We've been using them for years now. And WP Engine is the service that hosts my blog, which is where, when you read this newsletter, where that goes. On the software side, the backbone of this newsletter is a piece of software called Mautic. Mautic is free open source marketing automation software that sends this newsletter to you. It actually does a whole bunch of things. You can do like landing pages and workflows and all sorts of stuff. I just use it as an email marketing package because it hooks into the email sender software. So really, really terrific. The creative tool for writing I use most is Joplin. Again, free open source app. It's based on the markup language Markdown, which is a sanity saver for me. Everything is written in what's effectively plain text. Markdown is just plain text with some special codes to handle formatting. Like you use 1 asterisk on either side of a word to make it italic, 2 asterisks on either side to make it bold, etc. And that makes it very flexible. It can export to PDF, EPUB, HTML, especially have tools like Pandoc and Calibre, which are other open source tools. But Markdown is forward compatible with everything because it is still, at the end of the day, it's just plain text. So I should be able to open this newsletter in 30 years, and as long as there's a piece of software that can read plain text, it will read this newsletter, which you can't say for proprietary formats. For the multimedia side, the workhorse is Adobe Creative Cloud. I'm not a big fan of subscription-based software, but this is one where it's worth it. The suite has it's like $50 or $70 a month. $50 if you get it on sale during like the yearly Black Friday sales. You buy the annual package, and it's a dozen different desktop apps, another dozen mobile apps. I use Adobe Premiere for all my video editing. And nowadays, Adobe Audition for all my audio editing because it is just fantastic. Photoshop and Illustrator for the graphics, and a lot of the mobile apps. If you have any background in art, digital art especially, Adobe Fresco on the iPad with the Magic Pencil is mind-blowing. Like doing like watercolors and seeing like the water spread and diffuse colors across the page, it looks really real. It's pretty amazing. Services side, YouTube, of course, to host the videos. Libsyn is where I post the audio files, the MP3s. WordPress is the software that runs the blog. Thunderbird is the email client I use for my newsletter. No mail client is better for storing messages and making them accessible. And Thunderbird, also free and open source as well. There's actually a plugin I use for called Better Import Export that lets you export an entire mailbox of messages as CSV files, which means you can actually do data analysis on your mailbox, which you really can't do with other packages of software. The underlying format for Thunderbird's mailboxes is something called the MBox format, which is a Unix format. So I can open mailboxes from like 25 years ago in Thunderbird, and it's compatible with them. And likewise, MBox really is, again, just another type of plain text file. In another 50 years, my kids will be able to open my email inbox and read the email in it because it's just plain text. Services side, there's a service called Million Verifier. This is one I get questions about a lot. It's email verification software. You load your list into it, and it will go through and tell you good, bad, question mark on your email list. It is by far the best and the best priced software I've used for list cleaning. It is really, really terrific. It's like $1,000 to clean 1 million email addresses or something around those lines. It's so good, I actually ended up writing my own software to integrate with it. The actual sender for my newsletter is Amazon's Simple Email Service, or SES. It's a pay-as-you-go service that just sends large amounts of email. It has no interface. It's basically just a big tube. It's a big pipe, right? And something else has to put email into the pipe, which in my case is Mautic. So Mautic pours all its email into the Amazon SES tube, and then Amazon goes and delivers it. Cost-wise, it is superbly low cost. I pay probably, between the Trust Insights newsletter, our promotions, and Almost Timely, I pay probably about $130 a month for probably close to 1.5 million emails every month, which you're not going to find better pricing on email marketing out there. The only thing that would be better would be running your own dedicated server, and that's a lot more work than even I'm willing to tolerate these days. And 2 other tools that I don't use every week, but I use probably once a month, or if I think something is up. One is Gmail Postmaster Tools, which is a free service from Google that tells me about my reputation to Gmail addresses, which is about 50% of you. And MX Toolbox, which is email marketing infrastructure software that is basically, it's diagnostics. It tells you all kinds of technical details about your email marketing, like if you're on any spam blacklists, if your domain's been set up correctly with SPF and DKIM and DMARC and all the deliverability protocols. Really terrific, and it's also free. Now, that's a lot of the recipe ingredients and the appliances, if you will. How does the process work? Each week, The newsletter starts with this section, the one we're talking through right now, the introduction. Usually on Friday nights is when I'm mulling over what I want to write and looking in my inboxes to see if you have asked any questions I need to answer, either here or in daily video blog posts. If there's something that's timely and relevant, it goes in. For example, this piece that we're doing right now comes from a conversation I had this past week with Dennis Shao about earlier in the week about counterintuitive email marketing techniques. And part of it is how I run my newsletter infrastructure, which is admittedly a little more technical and clunky than most folks. But once I've got the idea for the newsletter, I write it in Joplin. Right? I keep a folder of half-baked ideas and usually pull from that. This column was literally a 2-sentence reminder of what I was going to write about. After that, I extract the rest of this newsletter from various trust insight systems. So, like, we have a content curation piece of software that I wrote that reads through and scrapes like 1,500 blog posts a week, scores them as to like what topics they're about, and then gives me a list. And then that's what I put in the rest of the newsletter, in like the in case you missed it section, and the stuff I'm reading, etc. Once the content from the newsletter the written portion is fully baked, I record this video. Right, here we are recording the video, and this gets edited in Premiere and Adobe Audition. I do a lot of color correction, because these lights can do all sorts of crazy things. I do some audio cleanup in Audition, mostly just doing normalization. But with the Rodecaster, there's very little extra beyond that I need to do. Then I export the video, which goes to YouTube. I export the audio, which goes to Libsyn, and then I copy and paste this markdown right into WordPress. There's a special plugin for WordPress that can directly accept markdown without needing to convert it to HTML. So I can literally just copy and paste this newsletter as I've written it right into my blog. Takes seconds, and it comes out formatted correctly. So super convenient, real time saver. Next, I handle and process new subscribers, unsubscribers, and bounces from the previous week, washing the new subscribers through Million Verifier and exporting all my bounces from Thunderbird. I do this by hand with some code I wrote. The reason why is I honestly don't trust the bounce handling of any of the software services out there, right? It says like so-and-so had so many bounces. I don't trust that. The reason why is if you know the detailed technical aspects of how email marketing and how email itself works, you know that mail servers can be configured a bazillion different ways, and they don't always send back the right error codes or frankly, even the same error codes. So I prefer to do it to myself so that I know it's being handled correctly. I can interpret the codes for all these different services, write them into my own code, and then separate out, okay, these are probably okay, temporary bounces, your mailbox is full or whatever, from the, hey, this address doesn't exist anymore kind of thing. And again, I do it myself because I know it's being handled correctly. However, I do not advise that anyone else do this unless you really, really love highly technical email marketing. After that, the newsletter gets loaded into Mautic. I update the subscriber list, the unsubscribes, and it goes out the door. These days, it takes about 6 hours to send one issue of this newsletter because it goes to about 230,000 folks, which is why I usually start sending it around 9 p.m. on a Saturday night. That way, it's in most people's inboxes no later than 9 a.m. The next day in most time zones. So that's it. That's the behind the scenes for the Almost Timely newsletter. I freely admit it is counterintuitive. It is probably needlessly technical, overly technical in some spots. And sometimes that's because I'd rather do things myself the hard way on purpose so I can see what's really going on under the hood. And sometimes it's because I'm cheap and I would prefer to run my email marketing as inexpensively as possible. I'm trading my time for dollars. I literally could not afford to send this email newsletter to you any other way than this because I was looking on like MailChimp for my list size, 230,000. It'd be like $3,000 a month. I can't afford to pay that. So doing it this way is the way I can make it still happen. So hopefully this gave you some ideas about how you manage your own newsletter and your own email marketing. Maybe introduce you to some new tools as well. But either way, it's a fun look behind the curtain at how this newsletter gets produced. What else happened this week? In case you missed it, as always, promoting the Google Analytics 4 course. It's been 17 days since July 1. if Google Analytics 4 is not up and running now for you, this time next year, because your old data doesn't go with you, you'll be missing 17 days of back data to do year-over-year comparison. Right? So you've got to get up and running. Whether or not you take my course, it doesn't matter. Just please get it up and running. In terms of content, I recommend, we did a fun live stream this week on what to do when SEO is not working, when it stops working. Some good ideas there that should hopefully help you get your SEO back on track. Also got some stuff on the difference between analytics and reporting, getting hired as a marketing analyst, diminishing returns in SEO, and people who have objections to marketing data science. Let's see what else. Some new jobs this week. We have our statistician at the United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization, which is cool. Data analyst for AI services at Brainly. Adobe Analytics QA specialist at Mobile Live, and PPC specialist at Camplify. So some interesting things there. In the news, TikTok is expanding tests of downvotes for video replies. Yeah, that's going to go well. Influencers on Instagram, setting up a TikTok shop, content marketing measurement guide. That's a mouthful. Checklists for SEO around all year round. Let's see, we have ML Ops, Scotland's AI strategy, and some 3D wafer stacking from IBM. So some cool stuff. Upcoming events, I'll be heading out to Cleveland in 2 weeks, I guess, for MACON, the Marketing AI Conference. I just got my CO2 monitor and some box fans and MERV 13 filters so that I can do my session and make sure that the room is as free of COVID as possible. I do not recommend that regular people carry around this much gear. Again, it's one of those things that I'm just going to do. But if you're in my session at MACON, it will be the safest air to breathe in the entire facility. I can promise you that. I've got 2 full-speed box fans going. It'll be great. And I'll have a little meter telling you just how dangerous the air in the room is. If you want to attend and see all the madness for yourself, discount code PEN150 will get you $150 off any conference ticket. You can go to MAICON, MAICON.ai for that. Have Content Marketing World coming up, again, back in Cleveland, so I'll be making that drive out there again for bringing the box fans and the filters for that. Marketing Profs B2B Forum here in October in Boston, so be carting my filters to that. And HeapCon in Belgrade, Serbia in November. So that's the news for this week. I hope you are staying safe. I'm going to give you a quick pro tip that is not part of the newsletter. It's for the YouTube folks only. If you want to see what's really going on with COVID in your area, go Google for whatever your geography is, COVID wastewater data. So like in my case, it would be Boston COVID wastewater data. A lot of places are doing wastewater surveillance, and that is a really reliable indicator of what's actually going on in your region because, testing's all over the place and stuff. But if you want to understand how at risk you actually are in your area, look for that wastewater data. I've been keeping an eye on Cleveland's, and all I got to say is I'm glad I'm bringing my box fans. Thanks for tuning in. Stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.